Omega has caught us. We just gave you 10 brilliant moments that were known only to the three of us because they were not recorded live. But nonetheless, here we're going once again live. So I will start us properly. Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Well done. Well done. Yes, we are a little bit silly today. All of us are in cosplay, so you should definitely check us out on the YouTube. The very bare minimum of the cosplay. I could see Erin's face being like, "Don't think this is my cosplay." Whereas for me and Alex, this is about the best it gets. But we're mostly excited because we are talking about the final episode, the series finale, episodes 15 and 16 of season 3 of The Bad Batch. How are we doing, fam?
Not well. But also incredibly well, like very well. I'm just going to put it out there. I called it, guys. You guys have been telling me for like months now that the whole batch is going to get Rogue One. And then we were like, maybe not the batch, but it's going to be the children. It was nobody. So thank God for that. I don't know. I loved everything about this finale. I feel like they tied it off so well.
Mm-hmm.
We really did say children are going to be Rogue One, didn't we?
Yeah, it was dark.
We really did go there.
I mean, a lot of children got Order 69, so Order 66. So, because I was thinking of Order 99. Get your minds out of the gutter.
Absolutely not. That's where it belongs.
Anyway, so all right, we're gonna give a plot summary, but I think there were so many moments that hit so hard. Erin, you first. What was the moment that really hit you in this episode?
Okay, so well, there was 100 of them. The one that absolutely crippled me at the very end, that is foremost in my mind currently, is we see adult Omega. You know, she has her conversation with Hunter. That is all very heart-wrenching, very hard to watch, very tear for me. And then she walks into the shuttle and she runs up there so excited, and she starts the ship and she adjusts text goggles on the dashboard, and I was like, I'm literally gonna shoot myself in the stomach. Like, I'm inconsolable right now.
That hit hard. That hit hard.
I mean, this show almost made me cry 4 times this episode. I mean, the same moments, at the end there really just destroyed me. Like, I like, how dare Dave Filoni? How dare you? How dare you do that to us? That was just uncalled for. Beautiful, but uncalled for. I think another moment for me that hit really hard was when they're trying to infiltrate Tantus earlier in the episode, and Crosshair's like, I'm going to go in alone. Like, Omega needs you. Like, he doesn't need me. I deserve this. Basically, he's like, I deserve to die sacrificing myself. I'm like, oh my God. And then Hunter's like, no, she needs you too. She needs all of us. And I just, like, my heart just broke. And in that same conversation, he says to, like, Wrecker, we're not a team anymore. Clone Force 99 died with Tech. And it's just seeing him at his raw, most emotional. I was like, bro, stop, Crosshair.
It hit so hard. And part of what I loved about that moment is that it was a combination of, because he's saying, and don't worry, we'll give you a full plot summary, but just going into that moment deeper, he's saying, if all three, like the three of us go in, we're not all going to get out alive. That's just how hard this is. And clearly, like, someone needs to do the mission, but oh, by the way, I can do it. And I might die, but I'll finish the mission by myself. Don't worry, guys. And so to me, it's this wonderful combination of the sacrifice, the like utter self-despair, I deserve this, but also still that incredible confidence of, I don't need you to, I can get this done. And to me, that was just such a perfect Crosshair moment. For me, and I'm sure we're all going to talk about how much it meant to see more grown-up Omega at the end, kind of Luke Skywalker age Omega. But for me, what really hit me was kind of old man Hunter. Seeing that he was, because remember, he's aging at twice the rate of Omega, so he's significantly older at this point. And their whole scene of her saying, like, I need to go off and do this because you fought your war. Your war was the Clone Wars, and now the rebellion is my war. And especially given that the clones had fought on the side that becomes the Empire, but still seeing as like, no, but we were still fighting against the Empire, especially as us. And so what I'm going to do is continuing what you were doing. It was so beautiful.
It hit so hard.
So hard.
It really did. It really did. I will also say I had a moment of generational translation because I do love a good, like, emotional sock in the gut. But when you said in our group chat, Dave Filoni, how dare you? To me, that means like you're upset because he did something that you don't like that he did Rogue One someone. And so when you were like, oh, I meant, oh, dare you? How could you have done something so good? I was like, WTF, dude? Like,
Well,
'cause
welcome
I got
to
that.
the.
I gotten that message from you before I watched it, so I spent the whole thing being like, okay, what's the thing that upset Alex so much? What's the thing that upset Alex so much?
And I was not. Yeah, no, that's definitely like a thing. I feel like that we say where it's just like, how dare you? Like, how dare you like be that good? How dare you be that kind and like make it so beautiful? Make me cry.
Yeah, I was talking with a friend about this the other day. I feel like it may not be a generational thing, but for me, I use a lot of negative words to mean good things.
Same.
Like I was
Same.
so happy after this episode, and I was like, I am utterly inconsolable. Nothing in this world can make me happy again. Like that was the peak of joy. Oh my god.
Yeah, if you follow Erin on Instagram, she literally posted those exact words on her story.
I did. In a
It
Target
it
at
appeared to be in a
7:30.
Target and literally just wrote, "I am inconsolable."
And then
Yeah.
also I put that I got a new cosplay, and yes, I will be cosplaying Adult Omega. Don't you guys worry about it.
I want to point out. Remember when I said a few episodes ago that like Omega looked like Erin if she was grown up? I saw adult Omega, and I'm like, yeah, that's just Erin on the
Yeah,
screen right now. So I would
100%.
say I was correct in my assessment.
Correct. All right, let's give a plot summary.
That's all you,
Mega
Matt.
Omega is really into the details of this, and so we're gonna actually, which is amazing. But your plot summaries have been a little on the long side. Alex, will you please give us a plot summary?
Sure.
And Mega Omega, you have full right to jump in and correct him.
You can jump in at any time and correct me because I might get some things wrong because it was an hour-long episode. Essentially, we open up, with Tantus trying to get into Tantus. We see the facility's on lockdown. The clones our favorite buddies are trying to get in. Wrecker's been injured. We pan inside the actual facility. Hemlock seems pretty calm, but there's some chaos going on as they're trying to get everything settled. Omega's beginning to exact the final plan to escape with the children. As I described earlier, there's a moment where Crosshair says, I'm going to go in alone. I'm going to try and save Omega. The Bad Batch says, absolutely not. We're not going in. We're not going to go in alone. We're going in together. Pan back inside. Omega is like, all right, kids, we're going to go start some chaos. And she essentially drugs the doctor. What's her name?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Scalder.
Dr. Scolder, thank you. Knocks her out. And they escape to that little hatch in the wall and then free the Zillow Beast after the baby's crying distracts the clones, which is wild behavior. But Zillow runs wild, knocks a hole through the building. All the while, Tech is undercover with Emery trying to find Omega. And then a giant hole opens up and the Zillow runs free and they all look at each other and they're like, Tech or Omega? Omega.
Echo.
Sorry, Echo or Omega. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. They all enter through the giant hole the Zillow Beast creates. Try to think, does Tarkin call at that point? Tarkin calls around that point.
Earlier, but yeah.
And basically like, I've heard the Zillow's on the loose and things are not going well. And Hemlock's like, I got it under control. And Tarkin's like, we'll see. I'm coming right now to fix your problem. So as I said, chaos is ensuing. Hemlock says to Emery, go find Omega. This is now your problem to find Omega. And he goes to activate 4 of those shadow troopers. We have not seen all 4 of them at once before, but he activates them in the special room. And they all have different weapons. And he's like, your job is to basically kill the Bad Batch, secure Omega. In the ensuing battle, as the Batch gets onto the base, the 3 of them are defeated. Crosshair loses his hand. His shooting hand, and they are captured and thrown into these like what's the word they use? They try to brainwash them, basically. Yeah, thank you. To turn them into clone troopers or dark troopers in the future. All the while, Omega and Echo, with the help of Emery, free the remaining clones in the facility, and basically are like, can you help us? Can you help us one last fight to save our brothers? And the clones are like, yeah, absolutely, we're going to help you. Go ahead. No, go ahead. What?
I was just going to say it's the clones, but then also Rampart and Namaste.
Yeah, that's what to bring up. Yeah. So Namaste and Rampart are also freed. And Namaste is basically like, I need to go destroy my research. I can never let the Empire ever use my research again. So she heads towards the research bay we've seen so many times. Rampart quietly follows behind her. There's a confrontation in there where Rampart demands she explains everything what Project Necromancer is. Rampart plans to steal the data and sell it back to the Empire in exchange, probably for amnesty and his job back. All the while, Nabase has a freaking thermal detonator, quietly activates it. Rampart shoots her dead without noticing it. She falls to the ground, drops the bomb, killing Rampart and destroying all the data in one fell swoop. A beautiful, powerful moment, and good end for Namaste. Pan back, we're now in Omega and Tech. I'm sorry, I keep saying Tech. Echo have to save the rest of the batch. I miss Tech. So they pull up in an effort to save the Bad Batch, but Hemlock was using them as bait. So they quickly capture Omega when she shows up, but not before she's able to free Wrecker enough to free everyone else. They go on a rampage, an epic battle ensues. All the Dark Troopers end up getting killed, while the rest of the batch is just injured. We pan out to Hemlock trying to run off with Omega, handcuffed to him on this long spire in the rain, very like Camino-esque, which is kind of ironic. And we see that Crosshair and Hunter limping onto the platform are like, give her back. They shoot his escape craft out of the sky, and shoot and kill the trooper with him. And Hemlock's like, don't come any closer, I'll shoot her. And they're like, and he won't shoot me, you need me. And Hunter's like, take the shot, Crosshair. And Crosshair basically is like, I can't, I'm gonna hit her. And it's like, Omega knows what to do, trust her. And at the right moment, Omega stabs Hemlock with a little bobby pin, throws her arm up. Crosshair hits the perfect shot to separate their binders. And then they both shoot Crosshair dead. No stunning. Shoot that man full of blaster holes.
They shoot off. Hemlock.
Hemlock, yes. Hemlock, sorry.
You are having a hard time with names today.
I am. They're reunited. All on the platform. It's very nice. They say we got to go find a shuttle. They get in a shuttle. They jump to hyperspace just as Tarkin and the Empire pull up. They secure the site, and Tarkin basically says, everything's lost. All right, shutter this and divert all funding to Stardust, to Project Stardust. We pan back to our favorite planet, whose name I will never remember. Thank you, Pabu, where they've been the whole time. And we see that the clones all got out. The batch all escaped as well. Everyone is healing and that, getting better, and they kind of can do whatever they want. Like he says to Omega, this is finally a time where we can do whatever we want. We're free. We fought long enough.
Mm-hmm.
The episode finishes with a fade to black and a jump forward in time. We now see adult Omega in a flight suit, and old Hunter. We don't see the other two. We don't see Crosshair Wrecker. We do see Batcher. But we see old Hunter sitting at a fire, looking rugged and gray, talking to Omega. And basically Omega's like, I can't sit by any longer. I'm joining the rebellion. I need to go fight. And Hunter's like, I'm not going to try and stop you. Just know that basically, if you ever need us, we'll be there for you. And you just got all the show. Everyone's crying. There's one final goodbye. She gets onto the ship, adjusts text glasses, and takes off into the unknown.
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried to keep that as short as I could. It was a long episode.
We're going to do a class on summaries because there's a lot of details there, but still awesome. Thank you so much. You remembered a lot of things that I would not have remembered. A couple of things I want to just throw in. One is Crosshair losing his hand. It's not in combat. It's not yet again someone getting their hand cut off. This is much more Jaime Lannister Game of Thrones. They capture him, they hold his hand down, and they cut it off. Also, just one other thing of that end scene. Was I wrong, or were they back on Tantus?
Oh. When it was Hunter and Omega?
Yeah,
adult?
No, that was Pabu.
That was Pabu. Okay, just that one mountain on an. Okay, never mind.
Pabu
I think it's definitely
also
Pabu.
a mountain.
Yeah.
Okay.
With legs around it in rings.
I get this confused. Totally don't ignore that part. So
I called Echo Tech, dude. You're fine.
Yeah. And let's start by talking about the ending some, because I have to say, they gave me a story in a way that it makes it to me more plausible about why they didn't all die. Because they lived through it, but also, I had all these stories about what happens to these people. And one of the things that we've established in other part of Star Wars canon is that if you do have force sensitivity, but then you don't do anything with it for a long time, very often it will just fade away. and
Mhm.
you'll never be aware of it. And like, Luke maybe is an exception, although he had to kind of have it woken up in him. And so to me, the idea that Echo just goes off with them, like they pretty much close off, I think, the possibility that she did go off with Asajj Ventress and have Asajj train her. And all the little kids go off to be with their families. And so they all get trained. Like the idea that all of them would have their force powers kind of fade into nothingness and
Mm.
not be noticed. I feel like that being one of my central questions of like, but where were all these people? And then reminding us that by the time of the rebellion, yeah, Omega probably goes back to join the rebellion, but she's a fighter. She's doing it as a pilot, not as a force user. And the Bad Batch, they're retired. And I think, quite like, I think, there's always another fight, but there's something to be said for, and I think it's really wonderful the way she says it. You guys did your fight. And so I think that also kind of helps understand, yeah, this is why the Bad Batch haven't been active more. And they deserve it. So yeah, I felt really satisfied with the way all that got tied up.
Oh yeah, no, I felt great. It was funny. It ended, and I was like, haha, all those people that were waiting to see if the Shadow Trooper was Tech or Cody were wrong. Just nothing on that, which is wonderful because the fact that we don't know where Cody is and the fact that we didn't get any more interesting things about Rex this season, the fact that at the very end, Omega says to Hunter, look after Wrecker and Crosshair for me, not Echo. Where's Echo? Something's happened to Echo. Echo is somewhere else. So I think we might be right about a different story that may
Mhm.
hopefully circle around Rex and Echo and finding out what happened to Cody. That is my plead to
Yeah, because I won't lie, I'm a little frustrated that we didn't find out any information on the Shadow Trooper. Like, they really like strung us along. Like there was something, I get it, like, trying to just make it, it's just a Shadow Trooper, it's just another clone that had been reprogrammed. But it just felt like they were really edging towards something. It kind of feels the same way that they built up the Knights of Ren for so long in, the sequels movies, and then like they were just killed off so easily. I don't know. Like,
See, I think I would disagree with you here, just because for me, they did answer it. Like, and they said shadow troopers are regular troopers who have been reprogrammed. And I think it's, for me, there's an important lesson here of, and like, if anyone remembers back when the WandaVision was coming out, within the MCU fan community, there were all these theories about like I forget his name. I don't think his name is Mephistopheles, but like this devil character was a name like that. People kept seeing signs of him and kept thinking he was going to show up, and then felt very disappointed at the end. And my point was like, you guys all headcanoned this. And
Mhm.
I think we had some fun discussions about who the Shadow Trooper could be, but I think one of my points all along was like, it may not be something that is going to get paid off. It may just
Mhm.
be a thing. And I kind of loved that.
I think of it almost as like you guys have seen Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess a lot of our audience has. So I'm going to use a reference. But in the first Lord of the Rings movie, when we first meet the Urkai, the big giant orcs with the white hand on their face, they're like Saruman's giant berserker orcs. And we see that one, and he's so powerful, and he takes on Boromir. And spoilers, he kills Boromir, and he takes on Aragorn. And it's this whole big fight to beat this one down. And then in the next movie, we're fighting legions of them.
Right.
It's like the same idea to me. Like in the mid-season kind of finale, we had this one trooper. He's new. We don't know what it's about. He's super difficult to beat. Him and Crosshair are just going at it against each other. But the idea of when they're in a group setting, they can still take on many of them. And it's like the kind of awe around the new bad character has died off a little bit. And now you can look at them as a bigger scope. And I don't know if that's necessarily a good story writing trope, because it does kind of lessen the power of those villains, but it's also one that makes sense because you need your heroes to fight and conquer villains that are difficult and compelling.
Yeah. Well, especially because I was very worried that once we got our heroes into those, like, re-education pods or whatever, that we are going to have a moment of one of them turning bad again. And I really didn't want that, because to me, so much of this, like, to me, the problem with the Chip story is that it takes away all agency. And we've discussed this before, especially when we talked about one of the earlier books from the Republic Commando series in the EU, but also just in general, that like what made Crosshair's story so interesting was he didn't get the extended chip. It wasn't because of the chip. He was making decisions and then later changing them. And I'm kind of glad that we didn't make the Shadow Troop. The Shadow Troopers were just they were a weapon instead of being a fully developed character. And that's because to me, a mind controlled character is not interesting. A character who's making the wrong choices because they've been taught something or they haven't been seen a different perspective. That's interesting. And that wasn't the Shadow Trooper, and I'm okay with that.
I guess I still just want to know where Cody has been during all of this. But I mean, like, here's the thing: if they announce, there's another show, and it's Rex, and there's Cody, great. I just feel like you said, like Echo wasn't mentioned. Has he passed? Is he gone? Like, is he just off with Rex doing his thing still? There's just a lot of things like I want to know about those characters. I think there is an opportunity for another show here.
Definitely.
Also, like, as we talked about many times, like,
can I just say one thing about that?
Yeah.
Not only is there a chance for another show, but also we're about to get a show called Tales of the Empire. And granted, that's going to be from the Empire's perspective. And I have not seen any trailers. Don't spoil me on anything. So I might be totally off base here, but that might be about the Empire. Like, they're going to probably run into some rebels. We might see Echo that way. We might see Rex that way. And we might see their end or we might not. So I think personally, I am very bored of the Skywalkers themselves. I'm really ready for I love these stories that are about new characters. And like I do want to see the Rey movies and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. But like I think that one of the richest periods to explore is this period of the Empire. And what's happening. And so I think we get Tales of the Empire, and I think frankly we make it even more about that where I want to know what the hell happened to the Zillo Beast.
Well, I don't know why the Zillo Beast was even there in the first place.
Yeah,
it's whole facilities for like Project Necromancer. Why have the Zillo Beast kept there? It's crazy behavior. If I may offer something that it didn't it's not actively bothering me, but something that sat not as well with me is that the story felt like it was wrapped up a little too neatly. What I mean by that is I didn't need everyone to die. Losing Tech in last season was devastating, but the fact that Emery gets out okay, all the kids get out okay, Omega's okay, all the bad get out with only one person losing a hand. It just feels like, Namaste had to die, and obviously Rampart, dying, but it just Hemlock dies, all the data's destroyed. It just felt very insular, almost to the point where if you would remove the Bad Batch from Star Wars canon, it doesn't really affect much. And I just wish that there was something, and again, maybe another show will kind of fix that for me, but I just felt like it was wrapped up. There was almost no long-term loss this season. I know, again, we lost Tech. I know that, but I just feel like losing none of the major characters, all the bad guys die.
But I want to say that's kind of the problem of a prequel type thing.
Yes.
Is that they had to eliminate all of these factors because Hemlock is never mentioned in the sequels or
Then why don't all the good guys get to live? Why does not any of them have to die? Again, it just felt very
that's not a good story.
But it would still be a good story if Wrecker had died, for example. At the end of the day, it still would have been a good story. But it would have felt like the sacrifice of getting in there, or if Crosshair had died. I'm not saying they had to, but do you get what I'm coming from though? In that
I understand.
Emery survives, all the Batch survives, and all the bad guys die. And yes, you have to wrap up with the Empire stuff, but also I don't know, it just felt very clean.
I do understand what you're saying. It did feel very clean as far as actual loss for our heroes, because they don't even know what happened to Nalise. Nobody had a second to mourn or be oh, she did this thing for us. The two people that died. Yeah, you're right. Don't really affect our other characters. So it was pretty neat. That's why I just kind of trust in Filoni, and I assume that that's what he needed this show to end to do whatever is next. Because it is very neat, which is what makes me think that the story is not over for all of those characters.
So there's a couple things I'm going to say. First, I'm going to say something. Erin, get your Kleenex because I may break your heart here.
Oof.
Remember, we only see Hunter at the very end.
Yeah,
maybe the idea is that she's trying to sneak out, but he kind of catches her there because he knew what she was going to do. And so maybe the idea is that wouldn't he want to wake up the other two so they can say goodbye too? I don't know. It is entirely possible that he wakes up on his own. It is possible that the other two have of old age or something else. but putting that aside, you said something, Alex, that I think really hits the nail for me about how differently I see it. Of like, but why did it matter? And I think, Erin, what you said is like, that's the problem. Is everyone thinks a prequel has to fundamentally change the story. It shouldn't. It should add richness to the story. It should add depth to the story. And to me, that's what the Bad Batch did. The
Fair.
Bad
That's
Batch
fair.
said, we're going to tell you a story of people below the radar screen. In the same way of Rogue One. Rogue One told us how something we already knew happened. Nothing new. It didn't change the story at all because it couldn't. Whereas I think things like Obi-Wan like do change the story somewhat in ways that I don't love. And so yeah, so to me, I really did love that. I loved that it did neatly add up. It told me why these folks aren't in. And yeah, Omega's going to be a good pilot, but there were lots of good pilots in the rebellion. And maybe she lived through it, maybe she didn't. We don't know. And we don't need to, though, because we don't need to know. And to me, there's a sort of sense of like, if every character we ever meet becomes someone really important by the end, that's like, it makes the world feel very, very small.
Mhm.
And I really like how much larger this makes the universe feel of like, yeah, this is a story of people who, frankly, they helped move things along in important ways, but our main characters are never going to know their names. And that's
Mhm.
okay.
Right, and I totally see what, where you're coming from. That, and I agree with the last things that I agree with a lot of, like, just like, a lot of times with Rogue One, like, the rebels won't know the names of the people who died to get the Death Star plans. And I totally like vibe with that. I think it's just hard for me, like, we see in other pieces of Star Wars media that like they kept trying to reclone Palpatine. Like, we saw The Mandalorian, the efforts to revive Project Necromancer, and to varying successfulness, I guess, until finally went to Exegol. But excuse me, I feel like having all the data blown up and Tantus ends up just being trashed and useless, just, I don't know, it feels like a waste of potential. I feel like I wanted more going on there, a little bit longer. And maybe it's just me like not wanting this show to end. But it just felt like, everything that happened ended up like, yes, they got that shut down. They prevented probably from cloning himself, but eventually he does clone himself, and eventually he does get revived, and eventually, Project Stardust gets finished. Like, I don't know. It's just, yes, what they did was important at the time. I guess it is, I guess, just a symptom of it being a prequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll also say, I would bet money that whenever we get the next Thrawn project, because I think it's probably going to be a movie, one of the first things he does once he gets back to the Star Wars galaxy is go to Mantantis.
I would hope so. That would make me feel better.
And I
Wait,
will say,
why?
because I think he probably thinks there is still something there, and he may find something.
Because Thrawn's all in on the Tantus crap, or he was.
I mean, the book,
Like
in his book,
clothing stuff? Oh.
which is, I mean, like Mount Tantus is introduced in the first books that introduce
I didn't know that.
Ron. Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah. So
yeah.
and again, this is all extended universe. It's not the Disney canon, but yeah, a big part of those books is he goes to Mount Tantus to re-find the cloning cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Thrawn is back in the galaxy. So, okay, if that happens, Matthew, I will feel infinitely better about how this show ended.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The one other thing I'll say is also that if I can remember what I was going to say. Give me like 3 seconds and I'll let someone else take over.
Well, I just want to say, oh, you got it? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to bring up, just for our listeners who might not remember, Erin, would you like to explain Project Stardust? Or not explain it, just tell them what it is.
Okay, I'm 90% sure that it's the Death Star.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, it's the plans for the
Good
Death
job,
Star.
Yeah. We learned in Rogue One that is a code name for the Death Star, and Tarkin has always been, he was against Stardust for a long time, but then kind of just was eventually just bought into it. He basically was saying to them, screw this Project Necromancer, dump the money into, Project Stardust, which is interesting because he was against it in favor of the TIE Defender project later on in the Empire's rule. So it was a little interesting to me that he was ready to throw all the money at it. But
I mean, I think he very much is like, I'm going to play the winning horse, and who the winning horse is going to be is going to change a lot. I'll also say I've recently been rewatching The Mandalorian season 2 and season 3 with my partner Mary, and there's a couple things that they're all like they do specifically mention, like, we have to keep trying again. So like it's a nice reminder, like, yeah, because these things keep getting blown up. But also, um, Moff Gideon says that he's trying to perfect the Shadow Trooper project.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of a nice stuff. Like this is get to see how it's beginning. I remember the other thing I was gonna say before though, when those Death Stars showed up right over Mount Tantus, and it
Star
was like
Destroyers?
very no, when sorry, when those stars when those Star Destroyers showed up right over Mount Tantus, I don't know if this is just me, but with the ominous music, I thought they were just gonna open fire and like blow up everything.
Me too. I thought they were gonna just Camino it.
Yeah.
Damn, y'all. I did not think that.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they did to Scarif, like.
Yeah, I mean, my brain went towards yours did, Matthew, on the Wrecker and Crosshair could be dead. Sorry. But I did not think if they were just going to blow up. That's wild. I did not think of that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Ventress not showing back up? Her just being a one and done? Does it feel cheap to anyone?
Yeah.
I loved it. I don't know. I'm satisfied. I try not to let trailers get in my head too much. I understand that they show you the coolest stuff. And I keep my expectations low and my faith in Filoni high.
Oh my god! I mean, that's honestly a fair way to go through your sports life or your Star Wars life.
Yeah.
I had a long week. But I don't know. I feel like why throw her into an episode just to bring her back? Like, again, if there's another show that comes along, great. But like just to throw her in for one episode, to like retcon an incredible book to throw her in and throw her into the trailer to like take away the surprise. I don't know. It just felt like a poorly done fan service moment if she does not enter a larger story sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was fan service. I think have you guys seen Avengers 2, the Dark Age of Ultron?
Sure have.
Yes.
It's overall a pretty good movie. It's by no means my favorite, but part of what is annoying about it is when each of the characters spends 7 to 15 minutes just setting up their own next movie. And that's what this felt like. It felt like we have a new Asajj Ventress project coming. We want to remind people who she is. We want to introduce her to a new generation of people who don't know her and get people ready for it. And I think that episode was pretty cool, although it felt kind of like a bottle episode. I'm not gonna say that because I love bottle episodes. I thought that episode was pretty good.
Love that episode.
It didn't really feel like, it didn't really feel like it had a place. Like it felt very out of place from everything else. As well as Omega does not seem like the kind of person who would be like, oh, guess I'm not force sensitive. Okay, never mind. So like, I think it was made much worse by the trailer, and it just reminds me I'm going to go back to non-trailer life because Erin, like you said, like just don't let it get in your head. I think even if I hadn't seen the trailer, I would have been like, that's really awesome. And then ended up being like, okay, I don't really know why you did it. It was fun. I don't think it was essential to the story in any way. But for me, it's entirely going to depend on what are you doing next with her? Because, as you said, like the fact that her being introduced at this point in the story breaks the canon of the novel, and they never explained that, is I think the thing that bothered me most, more than the trailer thing. Because now we have 2 more years or whatever of the speculation of what actually are you saying that this is happening after the story? Are you saying that we're changing the timeline of the story? I just wish they had answered those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to wonder about.
I want to know what happened to the damn Zillow Beast. It's still wandering around.
I will say on that earlier in this season, I remember we were talking about, do we think it's the clone of the Zillow Beast or the original Zillow Beast? I said I thought it was the original Zillow Beast. That was a dumbass answer. I realize that now. Because we already saw in, I think it was season 1 of the Bad Batch, or was it season 2, where we saw the Zillow Beast in like baby form, and then we saw it grow and grow and grow and grow. I'm assuming that Zillow Beast is that one all grown up. That's my new theory. Just so if anyone listens back, don't listen to that, Erin. She was dumb. This is my new theory.
Wait,
I think the original Zillow Beast is either elsewhere or dead.
because I remember, God, I'm such a bad Star Wars fan. Now I can't remember the name of the monster that um Luke Skywalker fights.
The Rancor.
Rancor.
The Rancor. I remember when we rescued a baby Rancor, but did we also
Yes.
find a baby Zilla Beast?
I don't remember Baby Zilla Beast, to be honest.
They did not. What? Guys,
What
it was not a
episode?
rescue. It was like a horror episode. Because, like, the batch
I
went
totally
to,
believe
like,
you. Okay.
Enlighten us.
God, I don't remember it 100%. It was where we first saw the commandos. Because I remember flipping my fucking table. I was so excited. I wrote it down in my notebook. Like, we're going to see, like, commandos again. I wonder who it's going to be. And then it was super anticlimactic because all he did was wander around and talk to Hemlock about the Zillo Beast. And I was super upset by that portrayal of the commandos. But basically, they were transporting this Zillo Beast to Tantus. The ship got off kilter or whatever. Something happened, and they ended up on the same planet as the Bad Batch. And then the Zillo Beast was freed upon the local people, and it kept eating
Oh,
electron
I do
things,
remember
right,
this.
Yeah.
and it
Now I
would
remember
eat
this.
it
Yeah.
and
So
grow.
yeah, so it definitely was a clone of some kind or a baby
I
or
believe
whatever.
that was probably it.
Episode
There we go.
Metamorphosis, which
There it
was season 2, episode 11.
Okay. Well, we
Yeah.
are now fairly off track from the Bad Batch
Yes.
episode.
I do have a lot to say about this episode.
Yeah, please give us some more of your things.
So, first of all, when we go, Omega getting the kids all together is very sweet. She's like, "Let's go." They're like, "Isn't it dangerous?" She's like, "Don't worry, my brothers are
Yeah.
gonna come. We'll be good." And so they go and they strap Bayern, the baby, to Jax, which is the Mary Allen kid. And then Eva, who I can't remember her species name, but Eva, who was the one that inherited Omega's little straw doll, she
Mhm.
strapped the doll to her back like it was a baby.
Yeah.
It was so cute. And then the way they were just wandering through the vents and they're trying to like get the baby to shut up and the baby starts like crying and the
Mhm.
stormtrooper opens it up and the kids are like, "Hi, sorry."
Also, like, not only does Omega convince them to do this, she teaches them like low-level espionage because like they have a whole thing like worked out so that they can drug that scientist,
Mhm.
including like hand signals and everyone's playing a part. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
just great. What else is on your list?
So I had some direct quotes about things.
Can I ask you a quick
So
question, Erin, before
Mhm.
you quote? Do you have all the children's names memorized? That's extremely impressive.
Yes.
That is, wow. Matthew, do you remember every kid's name?
Hell no.
Yeah, hell no. That is very impressive, Erin. I just wanted
Yeah.
to bring that up. Keep going.
No,
Thank
we have our
you.
own little Wikipedia here with Erin. It's
Yeah, between Erin got all the names down, like down pat, and I feel like I got like Matthew's like the keeper of the old lore. We all got our specialty, and I really appreciate it.
Nice. All right, what's next?
Okay, next, yes, the quotes. So we talked about kind of that argument the boys had where Crosshair's saying, like, change of plans, you guys go to the communications array, contact Rex, I'm gonna infiltrate the base myself. Hunter says that's not happening. Wrecker said, yeah, we've handled worse situations than this. Crosshair absolutely snapped. Wake up, Wrecker. Clone First 99 died with tech. We're not that squad anymore. I've been inside that mountain and I know what we're up against. If we all go in, we're not all going out. And Omega needs you both. So I'm doing this alone. It's what I deserve.
Yeah, Matthew, that is for reference a "how dare you" moment.
Fair. Yeah, that one hit hard. That's fair.
Yep.
Like,
And then
oh my god.
Yeah, in response, Hunter said, don't even think about Plan 99. Omega needs all of us. And so do those clones.
Yeah.
Wrecker said,
lot of
we've always
crying.
known the risks. Hunter said, and so did Tech. So we do it together.
Yeah, which was such a nice way of honoring him as well. And just on that, I'm really okay that Tech just didn't come back. That he
Yeah.
wasn't the Shadow Trooper. That he wasn't like a hint that we're going to go off and rescue him in the next show. He died, and that's tragic. But he died, and they just left him alone. And I'm really happy for that.
I also firmly believe that if they recovered his glasses, that they performed a burial now. Now that he didn't come back,
Yeah.
that makes me think that like there was an off-screen body recovery and burial.
Of course.
Yep.
That, you know, I don't know. I would have liked to maybe see something like that, but like the fact they kept bringing the glasses back, I think made it a little bit better because they did honor him more throughout the show.
Definitely,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah.
All right, one or two more things.
Another great moment.
Mm-hmm.
Zillow Beast bursts through the side of the building. Crosshair. Echo's handiwork or Omega's? Hunter and Wrecker in complete unison. Omega's.
Yeah, there was no question at all.
And then I liked Echo and Emery, met up with the kids and they go to the shuttle and he gives Emery the coordinates to Pabu and just says, "Here, take the kids to the coordinates. We'll meet you there." Like, I just loved it because it's not like there was no conversation of, "Oh, is Omega one of the kids? Is Omega going to go with them? Is Omega part of the squad?" It was like, "No, you take the kids. Omega, like we'll meet you there because we got to take care of our squad shit."
Yeah.
And like we've just seen that aspect of the bond of the squad grow and grow from them first, fully trying to prevent her from being a part of things to then, trying to let her do a little bit and occasionally letting her and wanting to hold her back and just the full compatibility of the team. I really love to see. I think it's very sweet when they trust Omega the way that they do.
And to double down on that, when all the clones were escaping, or when the kids were escaping, there was no even attempt on Echo's end to say, "Omega, you go with the kids and Emery." He just was just like, "Yeah, Omega's coming with me. I'm not even going to attempt to tell her not to." I don't think he even wanted to. I think he trusted her and knew that she was valuable to the team. To like, she was no longer like she's still their kid, but she's no longer the little kid liability she was in season 1.
Yeah.
She is a full functioning member of the team that they all trust with their lives.
Yeah.
It's so good. So good.
Few more bars here real quick. I'm sorry. I know I'm going long.
Mhm.
Hemlock says to Hunter when they're in his reprogramming pods, he says, "If you all survive, you'll make fine operatives. And if not, there's no shortage of clones to test on next."
Yeah.
Hunter looks him dead in the eye. "We'll survive, but you won't." And I counted, they shot Hemlock 7 times
Yeah.
before he fell off that bridge.
Yeah. There was
Feels good.
yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. All right, one or two more.
The last thing is just the conversation Echo had at the end with Emery, which makes me feel like this could be the this could be the setup for a new type of show or media. Because they're watching the kids kind of play on Pabu, and Emery says they've adapted quickly. Which, Emery, girlie, you're not a scientist anymore. It's not just about, I mean, you are still, I guess, but like, stop talking about them like they're specimens. They're kids.
Yeah.
They've adopted quickly. And Echo goes, "Kids are resilient." Emery said, "A childhood's not something we ever had. Our lives have never been our own." That's when Echo said, "Until now." He kind of pauses and I think realizes like Emery doesn't know what the fuck to do with herself.
Yeah.
And so he goes, kind of offers to her, he says, "I'm heading to Pantora to get some of the clones settled. I'm sure Senator Chuchi would find what you have to say very helpful to our cause." And Emery says, "I have a lot to make up for and I'd like to help out however I can." So I feel like that may be setting us up for something because he brought up Senator Chuchi again. We're talking about Pantora. We know Rex. We know Cody is out there somewhere wanting to be talked about and addressed. And now we have the possibility of seeing Emery grow more as a character or just be another side character in some other shorts that they do.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Can I ask a quick question? Someone correct me. Where are we timeline wise between Andor and this show?
I think we are about. So this show is like starting on the day of Order 66.
Right.
I think we're ending about 3 years after Order 66.
No.
And Andor is.
Oh, well, hold on. So you think more time has passed?
I think less time.
Okay. Well, so we're within 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Andor is taking place 5 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Okay, so we're like, there's like a 15, 14-year difference between the two of them. Okay, because I was going to say, like, wouldn't it be crazy if, like, we saw Senator Chuchi or Emery in season 2 of Andor, but I don't know if that would make sense at this point.
Yeah, I think that might not be, but I do think, like, Andor is happening concurrently to Rebels, basically. At least season 2 will be. And the other thing that's happening, I think, much closer to the time of the Bad Batch is the Jedi Fallen Order, now Jedi Survivor game, which we know we're going to get a third of.
Mm,
And so I could see maybe that like part of the mission in that third Jedi game has something to do with like these kids who got rescued or something like that.
that would be super cool.
Any last
So
things you want to say, Alex?
yeah, well, I want to ask one final question of the group, if you don't mind. I just want to say, if a show were to come about, spawning out of this, whether it's Ventress, the clones, Cody, Rex, I want each of you to tell me just very briefly what you would want to see. Like, what are you looking for in a future, like something connected to the characters we were introduced to or reintroduced to throughout this show?
I want clone bros. That's all I want. I just want clones. Like the idea of a Ventress show is so exciting, and yet I would give it all away. I would genuinely. I think I'd be upset. I think I'd regret saying it, but I'd be fine never seeing her in media again if I get to see an entire show about Rex and the clones and Cody and my boys. Like
Yeah.
that is the media that I am hoping comes next in this kind of era.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think that's what I'd really want. I don't want the Force. I don't want Jedi-lings hanging around. I loved that this was a show where the Force and Jedi were such a small part of it.
Mhm.
I'd say to me there are two things that I really don't want. One is kind of what you were saying, Erin. Like I want to see all those clones. I do not want it to be about Omega. I do not want it to be about the Bad Batch. I think they have retired, and we let them retire. And we know Omega comes back at some point. And I will say, like if grown-up Omega shows up like in Alpha Squadron, if we ever get that movie, like that I would love. Or if we do get something about like, yeah, the early beginnings of those first Rebel pilots that Luke winds up joining, and we get like live action Omega for that, I'm all for that. But I think between that period of when Omega gets on that ship to join them and the end of this and that, I think maybe Rex goes back to visit them once a season and like talk to them and get some advice from them, or maybe they like come and join him on one mission. But for the most part, I really think it's important that they be off screen. The second thing I'll say, and it's something that I thought I wanted them to answer, but actually realized I'm so much happier they didn't. We don't know in any way, shape, or form how it is that we have two female clones now, and
Mhm.
and in Emery. And some of the things that hit me really powerfully was a number of trans Star Wars fans who I know posted things about how happy they were, because what it means is that there it is possible that they intentionally decided to like change the sex of the clone. It's entirely possible that they're both trans or that one of them is trans. And
Mhm.
Star Wars being that so open-ended and it being like, you decide. I really love and I think it's really powerful. And now I kind of feel like I don't, unless at least one of them are trans or something like else, like gender, non-conforming in some way, like one of them has some agency in it. I'm happy if they don't. I'm happy if they just leave it completely. Like, it's not that I need them to say they're trans, but I'd
Mhm.
rather them not officially be like, nope, they definitely aren't. Just leave it open. Let it be, something fans can hang on to if they want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a nice thought. Is like you don't need to over explain everything. Let things mean to people what it means to them.
Yeah.
And I think that oftentimes is not a complaint about Star Wars, but some people are like, we're explaining too much, like leaves them to the imagination. But I think that like they have done at least recently very well at like expanding and deepening and enriching the universe without like answering every single question. Now it makes me grumpy because I want an answer to every question about everything all the time. But I do like that there's enough room left in a lot of these stories for fans to interpret and connect and relate on different levels, because it just makes Star Wars more accessible for the world as a whole, allows people who love headcanon like me to run wild, and just in general I think makes it a more enriching experience when like you get a lot of answers but you also like are left some things that don't need to be answered you can answer yourself.
Yeah.
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 I think it's true.
I did look up timeline. The Bad
Mhm.
Batch season 2 ends and season 3 starts in 18 BBY. So
So a
we're
year.
2 years. We're 1 year into it. And then by the time she has her 160 some days or whatever it ended up being on Tantus, we're like another half year
Right.
through.
So
Okay.
this show all ends about This whole show takes place about 1.5 to 2 years total.
It's quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, that's a good place to end this. We're going to have a little more continuation. We're going to continue the discussion about the Bad Batch as a whole, although it's going to be pretty brief in our member section. But for everybody else, please do think about becoming a member. If you like this, let us know. Give us feedback. Let us know what part of the discussion you liked, what you didn't. What do you agree with? What did you not agree with? What are your fan theories? Let us know. We'd love to discuss it. And we'd also just love to learn more. Share this with other people. Let other people hear the conversation. It just makes everything better for everyone. And of course, please think about becoming a member. On behalf of myself, Erin, Alex, thank you all so much. We have spoken.
Stay classy, Pantora.
We'll survive, but you won't.
Star Wars Generations is an Ethical Panda podcast, part of the True Story FM network. If you enjoyed the show, please share it and leave a rating or review in your podcast app. The best way to support us is by becoming a member. Find information and all the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening.